Hey, everybody, welcome in. It's time. It's time for you say it, I say it, we all say it together. It's time for Three Guys Before the Game. This is the Thanks for Having Us episode of Three Guys Before the Game, episode number 493. Well, at less than 12 hours after West Virginia defeated the Horned Frogs of TCU in an extremely memorable game between the two schools, a game that will go down, I think, in the long-term memory banks of West Virginia University football and the fans. Final score 24-21. West Virginia prevails. They throw a shutout against a TCU offense in the second half that as a team had been averaging 38 points per game. They got 21 in the first half. And West Virginia's defense and special teams, obviously, does the deal. The offense, symmetrical offense for West Virginia. 7 in the first, 7 in the second, 7 in the third, and they settle for 3 in the fourth quarter of play. We're going to break it all down for you. Three Guys, brought to us in part by the Burdett Camping Center, the only warranty forever dealer in West Virginia. Visit them at burdettcamping.com. That's B-U-R-D-E-T-T-E camping.com. Burdett Camping, located in Winfield, but you can take a look at all of their offerings to you at burdettcamping.com. Three Guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. Do you need managed IT services? They can do that. Remote monitoring, come in, make sure everything's clicking. They can do that. And digital phone systems. Businesses, 1 line. If it's just you and somebody else, 2 lines. Or you got 1,000. They'll come in, give you a price, competitively priced. If that's the time for you, visit comaxwv.com. Tell them Three Guys sent you. Three Guys brought to us by Go-Mart. Go for good times. Go for Go-Mart. And tractor trailers from around the world continuing to make their drop-offs here at Go-Mart. Month of October is here. It's first day of October. That means Halloween, end of the month, and all the Reese's cups that have been produced from around the world. Cargo containers being shipped into Baltimore ports. They're just bringing them into West Virginia, loading them up.
Shapes, pumpkin shapes are
all
out.
Different kinds.
It's Baltimore port.
Triple points on Saturdays with your Go-Mart rewards card. If you don't have one yet, get your rewards card, gomart.com. And Three Guys also brought to us in part by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. And before the ink is even dry on the PFF scores, we'll have spreads on stats coming up, brought to us by the Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond the numbers. All right, as they say, let's do this thing. First off, let's take a deep breath and put it all into perspective. The month of September is over. It was an odd month because you played 5 games in the month, right? So that's very unique and odd. And West Virginia lost that opener at Penn State and has since won 4 in a row, including 2 in conference action. And they have done it in a way that I don't think anyone whatsoever thought they would do it in this season. So this team is so old school that they won last night 24-21, right? And then they won with Don Nehlen-esque scores the previous 2 games against Pitt and then against Texas Tech. This team is such an old school team that you know what they did last night? We said, hey, while we're winning like we did back in the 80s, might as well do travel like we did back in the 80s. So instead of flying to Bridgeport, flew to Pittsburgh. flew to Pittsburgh and had to take the bus down, just like the old days, Hop.
Yep.
You remember the good old days when you come back there and you say, ooh. So anyway, it was a super late night. Team did not get back until 6:10, 6:15 this morning. And that's just the way it is. But you know what? No one cares when you win. Like they could have said, hey, we're going to have to actually need to go up to Boise, Idaho, and just to kind of get around the weather. And people go, Boise's fine.
That 1 mile marker you get to that says Morgantown 41 miles, and it's made that trip thousands of times. And every time you hit it, you go, what, 41 miles? We should be home by now.
Right.
How's it still 41 miles?
Then you drive another 40 and it says Morgantown 36.
That last 40 miles is brutal, especially at 5 in the morning, 5:30, I'm sure.
Are you is that Wayne? We just hit Waynesboro?
Is that right? Does that mean 14 or 41?
Yeah. Anyway, we're here.
But it's easier after a win.
Yes. And if ever a team needed an off week, it is this team. Ooh. Huge. We'll get into all of that. All right, Hoppy, put this into perspective. What are we seeing?
I always like to try to find a theme. And so I watched Neil Brown's press conference. I watched the press conference of a mentally and physically exhausted Neil Brown. And he said a couple things. He said, I'm as proud of a football team as I've ever been. Our backs have been against the wall. Nobody believed in us. I don't want to hear anybody that said they saw us being 4-1. Nope. The only people that really believed were us. I felt as we went through spring, summer, and the end of fall, we had a team that was capable of winning close football games. I found a quote by Bear Bryant. He said, if you believe in yourself and have dedication and pride, and never quit, you'll be a winner. The price of victory is high, but so are the rewards. And the price of victory was high yesterday with Trey Lathan, with Wyatt Milam, Tomas Rimac, Aubrey Burks, Hershey McLaren, all those guys out injured, some worse than others. But there is something about this team, their togetherness, their pride, their toughness, their old school toughness, the grittiness about this team that is difficult to quantify. It exists, and you see it, and it helps them win games. You can't exactly, spreads on stats, quantify that, but it is deeply meaningful, this team. And I think it's the kind of team, and we've seen a lot of Mountaineer teams over the years, it's the kind of team that Mountaineer Nation welcomes and can easily embrace. This is an embraceable team, not only for the wins, but how they play.
Extremely well stated. Couldn't agree with you more. Mountaineer Nation has been waiting to put their arms around another Mountaineer team that they love. And you know what, Hop?
You can love this team.
I think we're at that point in the relationship where you kind of take that pause moment and you go, you go, yeah, I think I love you.
I love you guys.
I think I love you guys because you play the way that you need to play at West Virginia.
Yeah.
And maybe sometimes you don't see the trees when you're in the midst of the forest, but I listened to Sonny Dykes' pregame conversation on the TCU radio network yesterday before the game, and he said pretty much what you said. He goes, this is West Virginia. He goes, this is how this team is. And he hit all of the points that we always like to take great pride in. This is how we play. And he said, this is what they do. Mm-hmm. This is what they do. And he also had an interesting quote that I kind of forgot, but we know that Neil Brown was coached by Sonny Dykes. Right. I didn't realize how young Neil was at that time. He goes, I've known him since he was 18 years old.
Yeah.
And he said, and I know this. He said, he's extremely smart. And what he'll do is he will do a wonderful job all the time of assessing what he has and figuring out how to win with what he has. And he said, and that's what he's doing right here. So I thought that was pretty neat because, again, we're so inside of it all. Sometimes you don't hear what other people are thinking. So with that being said, we send the remaining minutes that we have to the gentleman from the great state of Iowa. Spreads.
There's a lot to say, Hop. I think you said that extremely well, and a couple of points to add on to that. I think the reason it's easy to like this team right now, not only just because of the wins that are following, but it does have that identity. You know what this team is. And West Virginia's most beloved teams have not only won, of course, but you've been able to identify. And then not only can you identify with this team, and not only have they made their identity clear, it's exactly as you just said, Tony, it's what the great teams have always been here. It fits right. They'll come out and hit you right in the face, right? And I think if there's nothing else that West Virginia does, it's that, right? Even the great rich teams, the athletic teams and the showboating and the showtime element they had, they'd hit you right in the face too. And that's the defining element. I just think, guys, what a tremendous amount of credit needs to go to the coaching staff first and foremost. there was an excessive amount of noise around this program, and quite frankly, an unfair level of noise at times around this program going back to the middle of last year. They have been able to tune that out, continue to message consistently to this team, and the wins have followed, oh, by the way, 6 of their last 8, with the 2 losses being to the top 10 Penn State team, to a Kansas State team last year that was top 10, top 15, won the league. And for them to be able to message continuously through all that and cut through it, and then credit those players that have also tuned out that noise and listened to that coaching staff and then gone out and executed. I just give a lot of credit to them. I think that's a lot harder than what people think it is to be able to achieve that. And they've done it, and those results are following. So I just can't give enough credit to the entire program for doing what they're doing. And I get Neil's point about nobody else believing. Some people had an over 4.5 win ticket, though, Hoppy. So some other people believe.
Oh, that's right.
Some other people. I'm not just talking about some on this studio set, but there are others out there that came along with the over 4.5. And as I've said many times, if I could have found that bet that West Virginia would not finish last in the Big 12, would have hammered that thing.
Never found it.
Never found it.
Yeah.
But a lot of football left, I realize. You couldn't have started. You just literally could not have started better than 4-1. You weren't going to Penn State to get a win. You could not have started better than you have. You are in tremendous position. And it's a weird schedule. For as much as we've talked about schedule strength, I think this has been a very, very difficult first 5 games. Extremely difficult September, and you're seeing the physical toll that it took on this team. But now, this opens up a little bit. Now it's like, okay, bring it on, boys. Who wants some now? This schedule opens up with a lot of coin flip games on it remaining the rest of the season. You've got to continue to play. You can hopefully get healthy, but you move forward and say, let's go. You're one of 3 undefeated Big 12 teams in Big 12 play at the end of September. I agree with Neil. Not many had that on their bingo card.
So you've already played 41% of your season, which means that you have 59% left, but you'll do it over the course of 8 weeks, right? So you're exactly. I mean, getting off that bus yesterday, man. There's some dudes. I mean, it looked like there's a couple guys there that looked like what do you call those people that zombies? Like the way they're walking, like whoa! It was wow.
You know,
physical.
and as you talk about who's coming up opponent wise, that right there, what West Virginia's going through, is something you hear over time with all this conference realignment stuff over the years. That's the one thing you always hear from these programs that are stepping up in competition. It's not the ability to go win a game. It's not the ability to win a few games in there. It's the constant week-to-week grind you go through with bigger, better athletes and more of them that these other teams pulling up say, man, that's hard to do every week.
UCF.
Houston, UCF, and BYU still straight ahead on this schedule.
Yeah, UCF. How you doing? How we doing?
Oh, my. How about 2? Again, there's a lot to get into and a lot of players, individual players, but the story that Neil Brown talked about after the game where Nico Markio rolled his ankle and he's injured, and so then they go to Garrett Green, who wanted to play badly, and Brown says to Green, you got to prove to me that you can go. And he goes out on a day that normally is like a walkthrough or a light practice, not sweat practice, and has to prove that he can play, that he's well enough to play. And that's just 72 hours before the game, and then goes out and turns in again just a Garrett Green gutty performance, willing his team forward. I mean, that's amazing too.
Yeah. And I think that also is a piece of why people are falling in love with this team, because of that moxie. That's classic quarterback moxie. As you saw during the game, he'll back down from no one, and people like that. They embrace that and his toughness and his ability to go. So, like, yeah, let's do this thing.
It's a couple things there. The toughness was clearly on display because he was not cutting like he normally would. He didn't have the straight speed that he normally did, and still found a way to make big plays. If you go to, this is not an official Spreads on Stats brought to you by the Conley CPA Group, but I will tell you this.
Yeah, if you want me to start the
Not
music.
yet. No, because I got a bunch. So just settle in because we're going to have a big Spreads on Stats here. But here's one for you. Usage rate, which is self-explanatory, how much you use. He's used in the passing game. He's your quarterback. 29% usage rate in your rush game. You talk about how valuable that position is to this offense, and Garrett Green in particular is. That illustrates it. Second highest usage rate on the ground, and obviously by far the highest passing rate usage. There's just a tremendous game. And to your point of setting a tone and an attitude and an identity on, we'll hit you right in the face, and not only will we hit you right in the face, we're not going to back down if you come at us. when he was walking off the field there, I think it was like in the first quarter or whatever.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he's walking off the field. He drives over. He's just going to go handle his business on the sideline.
Right.
And you get some yippity yap, yap, yap coming from the other side.
Yeah.
He stops, turns on a dime, and goes nose to nose with a TCU guy. Well, TCU can't just handle it one-on-one, so they bring a second guy in. Well, they can't just handle it 2-on-1, so they bring a third guy in, and he's not moving. I mean, Garrett Green's not moving and yapping right back at that on his own 3-on-1 until Nick Malone finally came over and said, okay, I got you. We're enough. Let's go to the sideline. Yeah. So you talk about standing right in there?
Oh, here
we go. We'll stand right in here.
He's moxie.
Yeah.
He's not going to back down from anything. Not going to back down anything at all. All right, so a bunch of stuff to pull apart. The injuries just make your heart hurt when you see it. I mean, we've now played 2 games in 2 weeks, and we've had 3 appearances by the cart.
Yeah.
And, sometimes you go through an entire season, you don't see it once. And now we saw Tyler Shuck of Texas Tech last week, and now we see Aubrey Burks, who did text out about 2 o'clock-ish this morning. I said, hey, I'm good, Mountaineer Nation, so proud of my guys. So that was fantastic that he's able to do that. And then obviously, Trey Lathan, who I think was having he was starting to nip toward a freshman All-American type season.
I think he was right on pace.
Right there. And he gets he breaks a bone in his leg, and they stayed there last night, and they're going to do surgery there last night. So it's a brutally physical game. And there's this great paradox in this game that we love it, and we love it because of the physicality. We love it because of the whole spectacle that it brings. And then at the same time, you have those moments where you realize that on every single snap, something just tremendously bad can happen. And we saw it twice here last night.
There was a time, I mean, it's not funny at all, but Neil Brown, I think when they got down maybe near the goal line, and Brown asked one of his assistants, he said, where's Wyatt Milam? Where's Tomas Rimac? I mean, there was a rebuilt left side of that line.
Yeah, it was. Yes, they had to back up. They had to move Yates over to the left side to try and give the left side some stability, and moving guys all over the place. And it was the Burks thing was just flat scary, right? When you see those situations, they're flat scary, and you could see on the faces of the players and the staff, and Neil Brown in particular, that was out there. I will again give credit to both coaches and players in the immediate aftermath of that. TV had some great shots of Jordan Leslie with his guys around him, and all sets of eyes on Jordan Leslie, listening to him, talking to them. Same with Neil Brown in that situation. So both coaches mentally resetting that unit, and then all those players being able to turn around and go back out after you saw one of your guys leave the field in a cart and you're not quite sure what had happened to him, have to go back out and engage in that physical nature of that game. A tremendous amount of credit. And not only did West Virginia go out and do that, they cranked that thing up.
Both of those next drives were absolute stymies.
And people were flying around. It wasn't just a result-based, hey, they did well in the next couple drives. You could see the difference in energy level that was brought in the immediate aftermath. That's tremendously hard to do.
Guys, and maybe you said it, Brad, somebody said it last night, because when something like that happens, and you do get the impression there's a lot of close relationships on this team. When you're just looking at it from a distance, you're saying, okay, next guy up. It's easy to say, but that's your friend.
Yeah.
That's your friend, not just even your teammate. That's your friend. Mm-hmm. And you don't know how bad the injury is or what it's going to be, and you're thinking about them, and then you got to go play.
Yeah, to compartmentalize that and move on in those moments from where you're watching that take place and all of that, those medical personnel around and waving frantically, to then be able to go out and say, okay, now I've got to hit you as hard as I possibly can. That is just a massively difficult task that West Virginia's players handled extremely well.
And another side note to all of that, I mean, we saw it both weeks here with both of the cart situations. The synchronicity that the athletic training staffs and the emergency personnel work with is just unbelievable, because, yes, you're playing against each other, but at the same time, there is this agreement that, when something like this happens, it's just instantaneous. People flew off the sideline from TCU, and all of the emergency personnel and all the folks from WVU Medicine, the team docs that travel with them, plus the great folks in the WVU athletic training room. It's just immediately you become one, and you take care of whomever, and then instantly they're gone, and then you go back and you play again. So there's this whole thing that's going on. There's TCU folks were fantastic there.
It's a great point. One last on the injuries, and then we can move along. It was also, I thought, as hard as that Aubrey Burks thing was to watch, the Trey Lathan one was really hard too, because to your point that now, and we'll do it in a minute, I just said it, okay, then we'll move on from injuries, and we can move on from injuries. You know who's not moving on from injuries right now is Trey Lathan. And watching him get loaded into that cart, you could see, I'm sure there was a tremendous amount of pain there, but you could see his pain was more the anguish of not being, he just was frustrated.
Yeah.
He wanted to play. He knew that was season ending. The long road to rehab that he has in front of him, that's that human element of that it was hard to watch, quite frankly, Hop. I mean, they had the camera on him for a long time, and it was hard to watch the frustration on his face of being pulled out of there.
I actually think, and I don't want to criticize coverage. I mean, typically when there's a bad injury, TV makes this decision like, we're not going to show this. And frankly, I object to that because I think that it is a part of the story. You don't have to show it repeatedly, but I think you should show it actually to see the nature of the injury. But they stayed on Trey Lathan too long. I mean, he's suffering. He's struggling. I mean, you don't know whether he's. It's just that was, like you said, but that was really hard to watch. I thought that was unfair to keep it on him that long after that injury.
Mm-hmm. Three guys before the game brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. So, yeah, we are into the month of October, but as Brad has said, I think so accurately, this is a great time of year to steal days.
Underrated boat days there right now. Underrated.
Yeah, I think that's the best way.
Underrated.
Yeah. UBDs. Underrated boat days. UBDs. So if you have one or if you're going, you know what?
How about you get a sale now? Can you get a deal now?
Oh, you can get, I would think Lou Wendell and the folks there. I mean, end of season, why wouldn't you be able to do that? So visit them at LouWendellMarineSales.com, located in St. Albans, the premier. I mean, it's like, they are the pontoon boat dealers in West Virginia. Visit Lou Wendell Marine Sales. You ready yet?
Yes, sure.
There was a short night for the people that grade the tape.
Yeah, and as we said, standard Sunday morning disclaimer. Some of these numbers may change just a little bit. They'll continue to add on. We'll have more throughout the week and coming, but got a bunch of interesting.
I want to hear the Zack Frazier number.
Oh, we've got one, Hoppy.
I bet you do.
Thank you.
I bet you do.
Thank you.
Let's do this thing.
So I checked the numbers. We'll just go right to the numbers. Here comes a heater.
Let's jump into the analytics portion. This is Spreads on Stats, brought to us by the Conley CPA Group. What do they do, you might wonder? Well, they complete service. What they do is they provide complete service public accounting and consulting, serving clients throughout the state of West Virginia and beyond since 1985. They provide you as the client value beyond the numbers. So much more than just preparing your tax return. They take a client-specific approach to understand your needs, your challenges. And as I said earlier, if you already have an accounting firm, things change sometimes where you go like, I don't think you're doing the best you can possibly be doing. I just become a number. Doesn't happen at the Conley CPA Group. So search them out, and they'd be more than happy. Mike and the guys be more than happy to take care of you. Okay, this is non-rehearsed as you might think on Three Guys. Believe it or not, we don't come in here and rep the show. So what Brad's about to say, what Brad's about to say, we haven't heard it yet. So we're like you. We're just like, we went glasses early.
Yeah,
he went to the glasses very early. All right. Go ahead.
All right, here we go. I'm going to jump around a little bit. I'll start, Hoppy, with your request right there.
Thank you.
Going into the week, matchups were a big theme. I'll get into some other specific ones that we talked about on last show, but the defense that TCU played with the nose guard straight up on top of Zack Frazier, we spent a lot of time talking about this on all of our different platforms, and that was going to be a huge matchup, and I referred to it on Sportsline the other night, state championship wrestling meet, right, with Zack Frazier, former four-time champion. You think he was looking at a guy across from him saying, oh my gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do. I have a feeling Zack Frazier's looking across saying, is that right? You want to come on? Come on with it. You want to bring it?
Yeah.
You know who brought it last night?
Zack Frazier.
Zack Frazier. A lot of talk about Texas Tech nose guard, how big, how good, how this, this, and that. All due respect to that young man. Dominic Williams had a rough night. Frazier comes out as one of the highest graded Mountaineers, second, in fact, of guys that played 10 or more snaps. Williams on the other side came out as the lowest graded defensive player for Texas Tech, including had 2 massive defensive holding calls that both times I was getting ready to complain about the officials, and they said, defensive holding. Excellent job by the officials, by the way. Tremendous job spotting those. But how about that particular individual matchup? Zack Frazier won going away. One of the highest graded Mountaineers, Williams, one of the lowest graded Texas Tech Red Raiders. He had a tough night against one of the best centers in the country.
On that, Zack Frazier just dominated him, and I think the holds came because Frazier taking care of business with him and was going to block the next guy. And Williams was like holding him so he wouldn't go block the next guy. It was just a dominant performance by Zack Frazier.
Credit to that wonderful officiating staff because, normally you don't see defensive holding on a defensive lineman. Maybe you see it once a year. To see it twice a game. I still remember the West Virginia-Maryland game back when Rick Dolly got caught on a defensive holding. I don't know if you remember that game. That was back in the circa Don Nealon era. I still bummed out Rick Dolly got caught on that holding. But anyway.
Just a tremendous job by the officials. Always do a great job. A lot of respect for them on this program. Did a great job.
Great crew.
But we had commented after watching some tape again last week, Tony, about Frazier, how what his rushing yard total would be, because he's downfield right with the running backs. Like, he's just knocking people out at the line, going down the field, putting people down, and then helping the running back up because he's sitting next to the running back when they get tackled 13 yards down the field. He did it again last night. So you want to put somebody straight over him, you want to offset against it, whatever. Just put somebody out there across from him, he's going to wipe your butt with it. He was outstanding. He was just tremendous. All right, so that's one. So, Hoppy, there's your answer.
Yeah.
Dominate. Glasses again. All right, so the matchups we talked about specifically on Thursday's episode, let's go back and look at those, see how we did. We said their O-line was a work in progress. We heard from Brian Estridge, TCU's play-by-play voice on Sportsline. I think he said they're growing was his term for basically you're not where you want to be. There's still a work in progress along that offensive line. We said specifically the right side of that TCU line had some trouble in the early season, which would set up West Virginia's pass rushers coming from the left. That's generally Jared Bartlett and Sean Martin, who've had tremendous success coming from the left side. Well, how'd that grade out? The TCU right side actually graded out fairly well. It was more their left side that had trouble, but the two we highlighted from West Virginia, Martin and Bartlett, both still had big nights. Sean Martin led the team in pressures with 4. Martin also should have been credited with a sack were it not for that outrageous review
what was that?
At the end. The refs did a great job. I still have no idea what was happening. If that's not a sack, then how's it not intentionally grounding? My man's on his back. The only receiver he could have been looking at was straight up in the clouds. What the hell kind of call was that?
Up near the Comax blimp.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Well, he threw the ball straight up at the Comax blimp. Yeah. Anyway, so Martin led in pressure, should have had a sack, but didn't, and his special teams play was obviously huge. Bartlett wasn't far behind. He had 2 pressures and 1 of West Virginia's sacks. Bartlett finishes with a stellar 82.5 pass rush grade. So those 2 guys that we highlighted that probably had advantageous matchups ended up certainly having that. We told you on the last episode, Chandler Morris led the Big 12 in dropbacks under pressure. You think that came to fruition, Hop?
It certainly did in the second half.
Correct. West Virginia got after him in the second half, and he was a totally different quarterback. And here's the thing, guys. I know technically when you look back at the stat sheet and in history, we'll see there were no turnovers for TCU in this game. My God. There should have been what? There should have been 4 interceptions. Yeah. There should have been 2 muffed punts. There were 2 muffed punts that TCU fell back on. Those were turnover. That was a turnover machine waiting to happen that just never came to fruition. West Virginia defensive line was fantastic. Durajaye gets in there, gets a sack. Eddie V with another impressive performance. Mike Lockhart was good. Jalen Thornton credited with a sack. So just an outstanding effort by the entire defense, again, including the front that really caused a lot of problems for Chandler Morris.
Hey, Brad, on that real quick point is that how about, because in the first half, Chandler Morris was getting outside the pressure, right? And making plays. And then, as Steve Dunlap pointed out in our coverage, then in the second half, they made an adjustment, started bringing a 5th guy, and then tried to keep him in the pocket. He just wasn't as effective.
Yeah, so defensively, West Virginia, 5 sacks. They do not give up a sack. The offensive line does not give up a sack. And West Virginia had 9 TFLs, so getting upfield.
Yeah. Here's the other thing on that rushing. Chandler Morris was good in the first half scrambling out of there, but at the same time, what you forget about that is, you know what you shut down? Amani Bailey, the Big 12's leading rusher, had 55 yards, 2.9 per carry. So are you giving up a few scramble yards to the quarterback? Okay, scramble all day. You're not running down our throat with the Big 12's leading rusher there if you're West Virginia. That's what you're saying. So you want to take a couple scramble yards, have at it, man. I mean, they bottled up the run from that standpoint, too.
What if I told you going into the game they would hold Amani Bailey to 2.9 yards per carry?
Right. Win.
You'd go like, no way.
Win and take it. So you've faced some really good backs, Amani Bailey and then the two studs at Penn State. You've held your own pretty well there. Right? Yes. Never mind the pass defense, but how about that run defense? Speaking of defensive players that were very impactful again, Beanie Bishop continues to get better and better and play extremely well.
Great pickup.
Second on the team with 9 tackles. He had 2 more pass breakups. He was second on the team with 3 stops. And I've used this number before. It's defined by Pro Football Focus as a, quote, failure for the offense. So that's a major defensive stat that they chart. Beanie Bishop with 3 of those. So tremendous there. All right, move on to a couple other numbers. Red zone scoring rate was something we had talked about. TCU wasn't finishing drives very well. They were 111th in the country in red zone scoring rate. Not just touchdowns, but points. They were leaving a lot of points on the table. They did last night. They did not punch in from the red zone. Some just baffling decisions, though. The going for it by Sonny Dykes, or not going for it the first time was surprising. Or was it the other way around? Went for it the first time, which surprised me. The second time not going for it and kicking the field goal late when you had West Virginia on some skates, I thought was a massive win for WVU. So both thanks to Pat Marduzzi and Sonny Dykes for some coaching decisions that I thought really benefited West Virginia.
You always got to get your shot in there.
But it's not a shot. It's just that.
On Narduzzi, you always got to get one in there.
Facts. He kicked that field goal at the beginning when you had West Virginia backpedaling. Those things matter, guys. During close games, those things matter mentally as well as just the points on the field. So thank you very much to that one. Here's the other part. Schedule strength matters. And guys, I say that every year on this desk as we play these first 2, 3, 4 games, and everybody tries to say, oh, this record's this and your record's this. It matters who you play. And it does turn out to be predictive in nature at times. This was one of those. TCU came into this game ranked 17th in the country in rush defense. So there was a lot of talk all week from all over the country about how good this rush defense was. But if you use the Conley CPA group help, value beyond the numbers, and went in there and looked, here's what it told you. Talked about this earlier on Sportsline. TCU had faced rush offenses that ranked on average 96th in the country, including a Colorado team that entered yesterday's games as the worst Power 5 rushing attack in the country. So yeah, they've done a good job against teams, but teams hadn't been able to run it at a level which West Virginia was going to theoretically going into that game. Now, post-game, you look at that, West Virginia came in as the 41st best rushing offense in the country and proceeded to hit that magic number of 200 yards on the ground as they finished with 201, stay undefeated under Neal when you do that. So sometimes it matters who you've played and what those teams have done, and you've got to look beyond just the overall superficial records and see what's going on. I thought that particular game was a good one, and we talked about matchups this week. There were things that showed, the numbers showed you, this is a tough place to play. That was going to be a tough win for West Virginia to get. That was far from impossible, and that line was probably inflated. There were matchup advantages for West Virginia.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
How did the odds makers miss this one so significantly?
Yeah, so, and again, I know we all default to the ones that are right on, and Vegas gets them close to the number way more than they miss.
Yeah.
If you think about what they have to do. We're up here trying to evaluate one team every game, and we're not on it every time. They're trying to evaluate 130 plus baseballs going on everything else. So if you look at what they go off of first, the computer power ranking numbers that don't take into effect all this. They try and account for it, but it's still hard early in the season because early season power rankings are still taking into account last year's numbers. And that becomes harder and less stable each year with all these transfers, right? It's harder to take a past result and put it on a current result, but you don't have anything else to go on. So as each week moves on, and you've heard me say this, the numbers become more reliable because it starts to regulate, and it's also weeded out last year's biases that are in those numbers. So if you look at where the power rankings were, this number was about 12.5 points apart in favor of TCU. So what Vegas is doing, they got to get a number out there, ship it, and then move on to the next thing. And then what they do is they watch what happens. Where's the first bet come from? How much is it? Who's it from? Did we miss this number? Are we off by a lot? And that's why you sometimes see these numbers jump quite a bit. And so that's why it started where it was, and then the money kept dictating that, okay, the line's going to stay where it is. Then late, it started to come back to West Virginia.
There was news, I think, that got into that market, right, regarding West Virginia's quarterback situation. Did that move the number?
Yeah, it's one of the other things. If you think stuff's not getting out, stuff's getting out. You talk to those Vegas guys, they are on that early, and they were aware before it started, before it was ever reported. Right? A lot of people like to get out there and say first reported by. I'll tell you what, if some Vegas dudes could do first reported by, if they wanted to put first reported by, some of the national guys would be out of business. I'm just telling you that. Vegas knew there was some quarterback stuff going on.
So I think, and this will go off topic just a little bit, that's why we probably need to adopt the NFL's injury policy.
Absolutely.
Because there's just so much money on these games now. You need to do it. Just be out and just say, okay, here's our situation right now.
Hey, Brad,
guys have it.
And props to you, because all this week when I was looking at superficial stats and said, oh, they're only giving up 85 yards a game, and you were going, well, look, let's see who they played here. Let's see what those other teams have done. And you were giving, I think, great context to the superficial numbers. And all week you were saying, so you were never buying into that 14-point, 13-point dominance by TCU.
Well, thank you. I say many times the reason I like these numbers so much is it's gotten to the point now they're so readily available and there's so much information in the marketplace. You don't just have to wait for a football coach to tell you what's happening. You can look at these numbers and they don't tell you the full story, and there's other components, and you do need to watch what actually happens. But man, you can get a lot of information. As you've heard on this program over the years, you can get a ton of information about games, and a lot of times it is very predictive. And that doesn't mean it's going to play out that way, but it shows you where the holes are, where the advantages are, and where the path to victory is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One more.
Excuse me?
One more.
You putting the glasses back on?
Well, yeah. So I don't miss out. Yes, thank you. This is one that coaches love to talk about, and most of us as fans don't. We just don't really deal with it. But it continues to be a number. You talk about something that's really predictive. West Virginia won the field position battle last night by a whopping 13 yards.
Wow.
And I've said this before. I can't get my hands on the exact data research that shows this, but I'm going off memory. But it's outrageous. Like, if you win that by plus 10 yards, you win like something stupid, like 97 or 98% of the time. And there was a point yesterday where West Virginia, it was either tied or West Virginia was behind. We talked about it on our game day broadcast. West Virginia was plus 6 at the moment. And I remember saying, hey, guys, hold on here. West Virginia's plus 6 in field position. That's generally a good sign that you're winning. Then that thing went to 12, and it still wasn't decided. It's interesting that finishes out. The real-world application is you saw a couple of those punts, right, from TCU that weren't big punts that West Virginia took over in plus territory that led to a big gap in that. And those are those, coaches refer to a lot of times as hidden yards. There were some big-time hidden yards last night, but West Virginia won that yardage field position starting point by 13 yards. Massive advantage.
Brad, TCU did not punt well. West Virginia punted 5 times, averaged 46 yards, no return yards.
The net was, they averaged 46 on the punt. The net was 45.8.
Unbelievable.
And how about this one on the other side for TCU? They punted it 5 times. They got a really good punter from Australia, one of my great favorite continents.
I know, you're big
in the world. They hit it 5 times, Jordy Sandy, 44-yard average. 44-yard average. Net, 34. So Preston Fox had Preston Fox, Mini Pac. What do you guys call him?
Pac-Man Fox.
Pac-Man Fox. So he had 2 returns, and he averaged 16 yards. I think I have that right. Yeah, punt yards at 2 for 32, so 16-yard average.
Incredible.
So he'll be in the top again. He might crawl up. He was in the top 20 this past week, like 16. He might be like in the 10s now.
On special teams, I mean, you blocked 2 field goal attempts.
How many?
2?
How many?
They got 2 of them.
2.
Not only did you block 2 in massive moments.
Yes.
Their special teams had a tough night, man, and they could have had a catastrophic night. 2 fumbles that they were able to get back on special teams. They had 2 kicks blocked, and their punt game was not on point. I'm sorry, can I do one more? You haven't played any wrap-up music, right?
It's a podcast.
Well, we're on punts here, and we're talking about Pac-Man Fox. We talked about this yesterday, Hop, during our game day stuff. You ready for this? Tony, this will blow your mind. I haven't told you. You haven't heard this yet.
No.
So we're only half joking about how great Preston Fox has been by giving him the nickname, and that's with all love because Pac-Man's one of the all-time great returners here. Why we do that? I started going back to do some numbers with West Virginia's punt return that we know hasn't been great.
What hasn't been great?
Hasn't been great.
Hadn't been great.
Hadn't been great when you don't put anyone back to return a punt.
Well,
I think, it hasn't been great.
Well, context. Not only did they not put anybody back under Dana that 1 year, they didn't put a returner back and got a cheer from the crowd, and it was actually the right decision.
Great approval.
The right decision was to not put anybody back. So think about that. So I went back, did some numbers. Hop, you ready? You've heard them once. Tony has not heard these. Tony, I need your full focus on me, please.
Okay, I'm in.
All right, this is very good. West Virginia right now averaging, going into yesterday's game, that'll increase, as you just mentioned, 10.1 yards per return, 47th in the nation. Very good, top 50, okay? From 2012 until 2022, so basically the decade, West Virginia's average finish in punt return yards, on average, per return average, 103rd nationally.
Wow, a decade.
Yeah. That's not even your wow. Here's your wow. Ready? West Virginia finished in the bottom 5 teams in the country in that category 4 times in that span. 36% of the time over the previous 11 seasons, it finished in the bottom 5 teams in the country. Hadn't finished over 90th or better than 90th in more than a decade. And if you take out the 2012 year, which our buddy Steve Dunlap coached special teams. Congratulations, Steve. Also had Tavon Austin that year. Probably helped a little bit.
Who was at the game, by the way, last night?
West Virginia finished 29th that season. You take that out and go from 13 to 22, 121, 127th, 102nd, 124th, 111th, 105th, 111th, 90th, 126 out of 130, and 90th.
Non-existent.
So an area that it's not what it once was. There's a lot of teams that aren't returning punts at the clip they once did. But you talk about an area that's taken a massive leap forward that we don't really discuss. There's one.
Yeah. Again, we always talk about special teams being non-sexy, and it's the thing we talk about the least. But coaches know, right? Coaches know. And also something hit me last night after the 2 field goal blocks. If you go back to the first game this season, Neil said, I tell you what, he said, our field goal block unit on our extra point, he goes, they get really, really good push. And you thought like, okay, he might be just trying to find something positive to kind of, but no, he was on it. He saw it, and then obviously it comes through last night.
Well,
wins you a game.
Yeah.
He said that they work on it in practice consistently. They do good on good, and what they teach them is push, arms up. Get a push, put arms up.
What happened on both of those?
Got to push, put an arm up, block the kick.
Big old Sean Martin gets an arm up.
Big hook up there.
And you had the advantage. I mean, that worked perfectly. Long field goals, right? You're going to have a lower trajectory, and those guys did exactly what they're supposed to do and executed that to perfection.
Okay, but even though they did, I mean, it's still.
Well, what's funny?
It's a small area where that ball has to hit your hand.
See that?
No, you don't. What's funny is that Sean Martin, after the game, said, I was going to block that second one because I was mad they took that sack away from me on that play that we talked about.
And if that's the case, I'm glad that they reversed the call.
Absolutely, good point.
To energize Sean Martin to block the kick.
Oh, that was good stuff there, Senator. I mean, I thought you came for
Well, there was a lot.
I mean,
there was a lot there. Thanks for bearing with us.
Less than 12 hours after the game was over, the elves that grade all the tape, great, fantastic job. Brought to us by the Conley CPA Group. If you're a business owner, you can remove the stress of having to hire an accounting staff and deal with all the turnover that goes there. You can have confidence that the CPA Group from the Conley folks will get it done. Confidence in having continuity. They're experts, handle your accounting needs, and you know what you can do? You can do your business. Spreads on Stats, brought to us by the Conley CPA Group. Coming up, Textual Healing. Got big news, though, first, involving you.
Who?
You.
Kercheval?
Brad. No, you. So you have a beer named after you, isn't that correct, called Kercheval?
I thought you were going to say I was not going to be allowed to participate in this podcast for academic reasons after coming here, for being here for 2 years.
No.
Basketball reference.
So we'll talk
Only
about
academic casualty in the history of college sports over the last 2 years, too, by the way.
Yeah.
So our good friends over at Chestnut Brew Works that make your beer.
Yeah. Terrific people.
Right?
Terrific.
They have formed a new association, a new relationship with our other good buddies over at Mona Supply here in Morgantown.
Really?
And Chestnut Brew Works now has signed a deal an agreement with Mona Supply, and Mona Supply here in Montague County will distribute Chestnut Brew Works beers to their locations, which means
Yes.
Expanded distribution coming?
expanded distribution here locally, which means that it's now going to become easier to get Hoppy's beer and Chestnut Brew Works beers like Halleck Pale Ale,
Yeah.
their iconic beer. And so Chestnut Brew Works has been in business for 10 years, and the folks obviously at Mona Supply, the Alexas, who are just great people.
Larry, Corey, tremendous.
Tyler, just fantastic. So they did a deal, and so Chestnut Brew is still going to self-distribute in other parts of the state. They're all over the state. By themselves, they deliver it. I mean, load them up, put them out. But here in Montague County, that means more Chestnut beer taps at your favorite restaurants and bars and grocery stores coming very, very soon.
Excellent.
So
Awesome.
that's a big deal.
That is a big deal. I think we have to have like a day or something where the three of us ride with Mona Supply and help with the stocking.
Oh, I did that growing up.
What do you think? Wouldn't that be fun?
Sure.
Yeah, I did
I
that.
don't do too much work, but I mean,
Yeah, I did that. I did that growing up.
Did you?
Back, Aaron.
Yeah, my dad's grocery store. The beer guys would come in.
yeah.
I'd go out there. They'd open up those doors.
Yeah.
Also did it with the pop guys.
So you know how to do it. Then we'll just follow your lead.
Yeah.
You're skilled at it.
There were so Roy was the owner of the distributorship for Pepsi, and he had twin brothers. Not real big, tall guys. There were small guys, stocky guys. They were the guys that would take the stuff off the truck. One of them was named Speedy. The other one was named Swifty. So Speedy and Swifty would come in there, and they'd bring in the soda pop there. Fantastic job doing all that kind of stuff.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah,
it is.
That's good. So easier to get, and look at it coming up here in the not too.
Does that mean the Kroger?
Speaking of our stats, it continues to have a tremendous rating on Untapped. Kirchville just continues.
Yeah, it does.
A lot of precincts reporting now with that too. That's really some good, clean data, I would think, at this point.
I mean,
You have enough then? You have enough data to make
I would think.
it's not anecdotal.
It's a great beer.
it's not anecdotal.
It's
It's probably
scientific?
scientific. It's probably scientific at this point.
Got it. Good.
I guess you could say it's the highest rated beer that any podcast is associated with. Probably say that.
Probably.
Fairly say that if you just take a look at the numbers straight up.
Yeah.
All right, let's get what people are thinking about here. Let's do this thing. Textual healing, ladies and gentlemen. You can hit us up 304-404-4083, 304-404-4083.
Don't do it now.
No, not yet.
Get in trouble. Polls
Polls are currently closed.
But if you're in line to vote,
Textual healing is brought to us by episode800.com. That's episode800.com. Go there and you can take a look at all the stuff that we have, from coffees to merchandise and gear. And our elves are getting ready for the holiday shopping season as we speak. They've been working together, partnership with Santa. Santa said, "Ho, ho, 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 what should we make for the Three Guys people?" I know. You know, that's what the elves are working on stuff.
I hate that you've been such an influence on me in what I'm about to do here. But also, you may want to just check the store a little bit later tonight, or certainly by tomorrow morning. This is Sunday as we record this.
your head is
You
a
might
Tony.
want to go. Now,
What do you mean by that?
Well, here's let me defend myself. I don't need 9 permits and pay 3 different fees and all that to get this done. It was a one-on-one conversation that I feel good about the execution of this. So there wasn't as many hurdles standing in there or challenges that you face. But
So you're not out in front of your skis.
Well, I mean, it's a little bit Tony-esque. I mean, it's a little bit because it had I just would encourage folks that I think they will like a new addition to Episode 800's store, apparel store.
Checking when?
So you're saying before the end of the day, there's going to be a "Thanks for having us" T-shirt?
Oh,
Now he just ruined it. I had an expert A+ high level marketing tease, and he just ruined it.
I mean, just throw it out there. I mean, why wouldn't you? If you know anything about marketing, now's the day to bring out the "Thanks for having us" T-shirt.
Well, which is why a call was already made and it was in production. Thank you.
Did you?
Thank you.
Last
Giant
night.
Thanks for having us.
I got to get one
We
of
said
those.
on the last episode this was an all timer, and you needed to put it into action. I give you credit. I give you credit. It wasn't the horned frog in the middle of the field. I get it, but you did a pretty nice job. You had the logo in.
So I was leaving last night.
Yeah,
and I was not going to taunt
No.
fans. TCU fan. I wasn't going to do that, but just for him, while I was walking out, I looked up at the stadium. I'm going to the bus, and I see a beautiful TCU in purple in the thing. So I just walked over, put the camera with the TCU behind me and me on camera, and I just said to him, "Yo," I said, "Thanks for having us." And I said it to him. That was not for public usage.
No, it's not. And listen, that's the thing. That's not that when we do that stuff, that's not meant as disrespect. That's just listen. If you don't celebrate the wins, it is hard to get wins. If you don't celebrate the wins, then what are you doing?
Yeah.
Then what
Absolutely.
are you doing? And if someone would like to do a thanks for having us in front of the Mountaineer field, then so be it.
Yeah.
Have at it.
Yeah.
But by the way, next 24 hours, maybe just check episode 800.com if you'd
Can I get a comp copy?
like to get on that.
Oh yeah, we get you one.
There are no comps.
No, we'll get you one. By the way, TCU folks couldn't be
Good.
nicer. I mean, Brian Estridge,
Oh,
our
yeah.
guy. that
Well,
plays
he's
by
one of our
Blades,
favorites.
he's
one of our
great.
favorites.
the most attentive customer service guys. Like he comes over. I think he was in our booth more than he was in his booth, just making sure everything's. You guys all good? You guys are good? Yeah, we're good. We're good. We're good.
Do you know I've known him since he was at Appalachian State?
Amazing. That's when he was with the Mountaineers.
That's right.
That's when he was with the Mountaineers.
He's kind of with us in spirit now,
Yes.
not yesterday, but he's one of our guys.
One of our guys.
Yeah.
Okay, disclaimer on
Friend of the program.
Disclaimer on the texts as we begin the textual healing. Too many to read. Just literally too many to read. Most of the time, like 100% of the time, I'd say 100% of them are read. Just today, it's just too many. And what I've done was on the ones that just are just restating what's already been stated, we'll spend some time on that theme. Okay.
Okay.
So a bunch of people like, for example, C.J. Donaldson's running. I got maybe 8 to 10. Well, instead of okay, just continue. So we'll do that. So if you don't hear yours, don't be upset. Hopefully we'll hit your topic. First off, this one from the last show. Textual healing has become unlistenable. Do you purposely avoid football-related texts? There's no way there are all these little stories about food and seeing the flying West Virginia WVU logo on random travels.
Well,
Actually there is.
there is.
Yeah, there's nothing there. Okay, here we go.
Thanks for asking.
Tony, John in Jersey here with all the text about problems with ESPN Plus during the Tech game. I need to share my early adopter story of streaming West Virginia's legendary 2005 game against Louisville. I paid $30 to watch one game on the new, at the time, ESPN 360 service with my father. A bit of a fair-weather WVU fan, my father insisted that we stop watching in the third quarter for an early dinner at Buca de Pepa.
Ooh.
I never let him down. I've never let him live down that I paid to miss the emergence of Pat White and Steve Slayton in dramatic fashion, in addition to what I believe was the first time you ever said your famous wherever you may be phrase. Perhaps you can confirm if that was the first time you ever said it. I'll always think about how I was oblivious because I was in Buca de Pepa. Actually, I always thought for years that was the first time I ever said it was a great night to be a Mountaineer. And then someone said, like, no, actually, you used it in the Wake Forest, West Virginia basketball game the previous March.
Oh.
Well, pretty good time to break it out.
That was the first time, and then I used it the second time against Louisville. Texter.
Well, he's not alone because about 35,000 people left the stadium that day a little bit early, which was one of the fun, great moments of that game. I was in the end zone suite area, and you went to the back, the open area with all the windows. When it started coming, you could see everybody just flooding back in. Hoppy. It looked like you'd first opened the gates for a big game.
That's
people
back
just
when,
coming back in out of the blue
back
line.
when you could come back in.
Yeah, it's back when you could enter back in. It was pretty funny.
Well, let me ask you guys this: do you think there are a few Baylor people this morning that are telling the same story that
Absolutely.
they turned it off?
Absolutely. I mean, and listen, full disclosure, I flat out said they quit in the first quarter of the game. They were not playing at all. They were getting greased. I said, I think they've quit. Something's wrong in Baylor. Came all the way back, 28-point win. What a win for them. What a gut punch loss for UCF that was rolling there.
Yeah. So we need to be careful with Baylor because they've had quarterback situations there with injury. Like that might be a team here, that starts to get it cranked up a little bit.
Also might not be. Keep an eye on it.
I get you. Texter. 3 guys. Tony, you just said a phrase that should become the next 3 guys' shirt. Win or lose, you're going to be bruised. Thinking of Kirchevale, you changed the spelling of bruise to B-R-E-W-S, bruised. Just a thought. P.S. My sister-in-law, who was on the WVU homecoming court back in the 70s, was back on campus for the first time since she graduated to watch the Pitt game. While walking through the blue light, runs into one of her college roommates whom she hasn't spoken with in years. Needless to say, she returned to Vero with even great memories. Hashtag country roads. PSSS, if you don't make the shirt, can I get a discount? All the best. Mike from Vero Beach, Florida. Sure. Whatever. Hey, listen, you can get a commission off the shirt, and you'll become another person on this program who makes money off of it, except for us. Get in line. Texter, hey, guys. Tyler from Morgantown just listened to Thursday's show about Hayes. I believe it's advantage to place the kick instead of kicking it into the back of the end zone. If you trust your coverage and your kicker, then kick it to the 1 and tackle them short of the 25. Neil seems like a sneaky little snake that would try to squeak out every yard that he can get to. LOL. Brad, I placed a 3-leg parlay. WVU plus 14.5, CJ 066.5 yards rushing, and TCU money line. I'm gladly losing my money for a win. Hoppy, I need to know the difference in effect, A-F-F-E-C-T, and effect, E-F-F-E-C-T. Could you use it in a sentence? Every time I read it, I get more confused. I love the show. Let's beat the frogs. Effect. You can have that
Like
one.
you affect change.
Yeah.
You know, Tony, you've been affected by the play of the Mountaineers. You're inspired, or you go out and you effect change. You make something happen.
So that's with an A. Effect change.
I mean, A is effect. Like I was affected by the game.
Right, and then they use it in an E.
And then E is effect. I don't know. But E is effect. I'm going to effect change. I'm going to make something happen.
Well, I'm glad you
that's. I'm not a scholar on that front. That would be my best off the top of my head explanation.
Real quick on those numbers, congratulations to all that had West Virginia at plus whatever number you got. There wasn't a bad one. You got it. Congratulations to the folks that were on the under. That was a pretty obvious move. The number moved that way all week. It continued. Congratulations to those that had C.J. Donaldson anytime touchdown score that you could have got for minus 105, which I thought may have been a steal going into that game. Congratulations, everyone.
Last episode, I was talking about those Irish songs, Scottish songs, those songs. You know what they're called? You remember. As soon as I say it, you go, oh, yeah. Sea shanties.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
I was going to say shanty, but that didn't seem right to me.
No. Sea chants.
Shanty.
S-H-A-N-T-Y.
Yeah.
Sea shanty.
Yeah.
Is that one word?
Very good.
Oh, 2 words.
2 words. Sea shanty.
Not right together?
No, not right together.
Okay.
2 A's, but they're not together. I am not creative when it comes to making rhymes, but I'm sure someone can come up with a sea shanty about the Mountaineers.
Well, that'll come on the next episode. Well, get ready. I got 9 pages of sea shanties coming next week.
All right, here we go. Sorry to have hit send. Geesh. In any event, long-time listener, first-time texter, as you can likely tell. In any event, I'm the crazy West Virginia fan, literally, who married a guy from Baltimore via Richmond and made a real West Virginia man out of him. You guys and your podcast, now YouTubes, have gotten us both through a lot. During the COVID lockdown, I would walk and listen to amazing guests that you guys had on tap, then come home to call up those vintage games you spoke about. We've relived so many great West Virginia sports moments. Thank you. Our first bowl game to attend was the 2012 Orange Bowl, one that we've rewatched many times, too many times to count. After we attended that, a number of subsequent bowl appearances, I think the picture of you and me is from Memphis just a few years ago. So go ahead. But okay, there you go. Long story short, these days you guys are getting us through much more. My husband Dave was diagnosed with leukemia in January of 21 and continues to this day to receive chemotherapy monthly. There he is with an efforting t-shirt on.
Excellent.
Well done.
So yeah, he was supporting his shirt and his unending efforting during his 158th chemo treatment and still counting. I love you guys. Let's go Mountaineers. Sincerely, Gigi, great-grandma, Nancy in Bridgeport, via the Eastern Panhandle, Charlestown and Berkeley Springs, and owners of land in Preston County. So there you go, man.
Hang in there, brother.
No, he's truly efforting.
You talk about battling.
Good work, my man.
Awesome.
Keep going.
Thank you so much, guys. That's fantastic.
Did she say Charlestown?
She was in the Panhandle there, yeah. Yeah, your neck of the woods. Charlestown. She did say Charlestown, yeah. Texter. Going through withdrawal, guys. For the last 3 weeks, we've traveled from Barbersville to Morgantown Fridays, dinner at Oliverio's, lasagna always, breakfast at the food court Saturday morning. Talk about the food court, our 3 guys food court Saturday morning, talking with Brad and always buying something from Phil at Daniels. I feel bad parking at Daniels if I don't purchase something. Now it's
Phil
back,
appreciates that. Thank you.
Yeah. Now it's back to the grind of a tough road game. Pre-game predictions. Okay, so this is before the game. Garrett comes out on far. Defense falters early, but comes out clutch in the fourth quarter. West Virginia victory, 35-24. Wishes do come true.
That's pretty
Pretty
close.
good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Third-time texter, long-time listener. I would like to add myself to the list of Kroger gas hustle. Me and my mom just pulled off another successful trip to the pump.
Oh, jeez.
So now you got Charlie in Midlothian who's got all these people scamming that Kroger gas thing. WVU's got me excited enough this season to pull off the old NCAA football 14. What a win it would be tonight if we could get it off. Thanks for all you do. Signed by Elias Mace at the 7th Street Kroger gas station in Parkersburg, also known as the Deuce McBride Jersey guy. Texter. I believe it has been said on here that the Reese's shapes are better than the cups due to the chocolate to peanut butter ratio. I made a possible discovery as to the real reason. I was told that there is more sugar in the peanut butter to help hold the shape of the candy, therefore making it more desirable.
Could be.
So they're lacing it with more sugar to keep the thing
I
together.
don't care whatever they're doing. Ratio, don't care. It's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Elite, in fact.
Oh, here we go. You ready for some numbers?
Elite.
Texter. Hello, this is Mike from the Conley CPA Group.
Hello, Mike.
Oh, hi, Mike.
Chiming in with some extra value beyond the numbers on this beautiful
Love
Thanks for Having Us Sunday.
Come on with it, Mike.
Full disclosure, the following information is not audited, and I provided no assurance on it.
Good disclaimer.
Yeah. So here we go. West Virginia had never blocked 2 field goals in a road game until last night. It has happened twice at home. 98 Boston College, 35-10, Perlo and Dirty Davis. Hey, Luke, we got those. That's a stat thing.
Perlo Bastine and
James Davis.
James Dirty Davis. 2000 Miami loss, 2047, Seth Abraham and Shannon Washington. So there he went back to the WV. As an accountant would, he goes up and gets the data
Very well
and
done.
proves it. Other notable game blocked field goals resulting in a thanks for having us from recent memory: 2011 Cincinnati, 2016 Texas. And P.S., please remind your listeners, with tax returns on extension until October the 15th, to get their information to their accountant as soon as possible.
what about the extension now?
He said, with tax returns on if you did an extension in April,
Oh,
you have until 15 October to get it in.
But he's encouraging you to not wait until 13 October.
Yeah.
and remember, the extension is an extension to file, not to pay.
That's correct. And just remember, the Conley CPA Group, to our knowledge, is the only CPA group in West Virginia that doesn't go, we have to get them in. They're the only. They're
chill?
They're chilled out. All the other ones are running around going, yeah. Texter. Hello. Today, my family and I traveled down to West Virginia South, better known as Myrtle Beach. As soon as we turned on Ocean Boulevard, I spotted another West Virginia fan standing on the sidewalk wearing a David Sills jersey. I, of course, had to give him the customary, "Let's go," to which he replied, "Mountaineers." A 3-guy show could definitely happen down here. Also, to the texter last week who had a shirt idea for the episode 800 site, I've included my similar idea because Central Time, who cares? So, Luke, if you could bring up that picture of the graphic of the T-shirt with the Central Time, who cares? There it is. He made a shirt. What time Central? Who cares? Sponsored by 3 guys. Hey, Brad, you think that logo of the Flying WV, you think that'll get approved there over at trademark and license?
I've probably looked the other way.
Texter, first timer. This is Josh from the often neglected Audra State Park, writing by the way of Ruby Memorial. I've been gearing up for the game and loving the optimism around this year's team. What I didn't realize is how excited our waiting to be born 2 identical baby girls are.
Oh, my gosh. Look at them holding hands.
Mama went into labor and has been efforting since last night. Somehow, no pain yet. Hence the text, incredible. The girls are efforting their darndest to get out and be at a Ruby for game time. Man, they're already making me proud. A picture follow-up definition of the efforting. Mama delivered in 15 minutes with 3 minutes in between. The babies are healthy. not only in time for the game, but extra room to tailgate. How
That's
precious
wonderful.
with their
Look at
hands
their little
touching
hands,
each
look at
other.
their baby hands.
That's
awesome.
beautiful.
Oh, man.
Congratulations.
Well, I tell you what.
I bet mom's relieved.
What was the first name there? Josh? Josh, I'm the father of twins. Buckle it up, buddy. You better be efforting. Here's my suggestion to you. Build a support system around you there. Bring in some extra folks. Awesome. Congratulations to you. Fantastic.
That is.
Texter. Garrett Green's short throws look like he's playing dodgeball with his receivers.
He got some zip, man. There was one of those slants. He wound up
my
and
gosh.
brought it. We'd like to have a radar gun on that.
You know,
he
and a
got
couple
a cannon.
we talked about the receivers needing to make plays, and there were a couple plays last night.
Great point, Hop. Yeah.
Hudson Clement made a tough catch.
Throw a little bit behind. And by the way, that's what happens.
Yeah,
not every throw is going to be perfect. Hudson Clement stops, comes back, and catches a big third down, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
How about say hello, as you like to say hello
E.J.
to
Horton.
E.J. Horton that
yeah.
absolutely got clocked. You talk about a great football play. That was a tremendous throw, a great catch that he held on to, and a really textbook hit that was a mammoth hit. Horton holds on, catch.
Yes.
Really well done. And Cole Taylor had a contested catch in traffic. So, that's a great point that we hadn't hit. The receivers stepped up big last night.
Didn't Fox have one too that was a tough catch?
Yeah, I think he might
But
have had one too.
they were like there were like 4 or 5 catches. They're like, okay, yeah, that's a play. It's a football play.
Not to pee on the parade. However, they still have to get a lot better, dropping a lot of balls. We dropped a lot of balls again. Minimum 4 drops.
Were there? Were there?
Absolutely.
You're not thinking about the defense, are you?
No. No. Our next texter is not Brian from Berkeley Springs writes, alert, in-game text. What are these balls greased with? Bacon grease, maybe grease from Rev Kev's barbecue briskets? There should have been 4 interceptions by now.
True.
Patriots had Deflategate. Let's get at the Greasegate investigation started. I agree.
Neil Brown said after the game, got to work on the hands.
Yeah. This next text, Chelsea Parkersburg, I'm going to use her as the theme text for a bunch that came in, and we'll just deal with it. Here comes the dreaded in-game text. Please tell me I'm not the only one that thinks C.J. Donaldson right now is not playing as hard as we all know he can. Is he afraid of injury? I would not blame him if he was, but if that's the case, maybe he needs to go back to a receiver tight end position. A running back can't be afraid to put their head down, drive their legs through. Okay, so to the point. Several of those texts. And I don't think that there's 2 things at play here. I can't tell you if he's still concerned about the injury, if he's 100% healthy or whatever. But why were the yards so tough to get? They're literally, I talked to Matt Moore after the game. He said at times there were 9.
Mm-hmm.
He said they brought the safeties down there.
Yeah.
So while you might think, well, because it was so outnumbered, and it makes it more and more difficult. So I get you. But at times, the numbers sometimes, there is nowhere to go.
And also, he takes a lot of punishment. A lot.
One other note, because we got a lot of traffic on this on our text line last night while we were doing the game. A lot of people questioning why play calling, trying to run around the outside with CJ versus right up the middle. And I think the answer's a couple of things, just theoretical as you see it, and that backs up what Matt Moore just said. A lot of people coming down. I think TCU knew CJ wanted to run the ball.
Yeah.
Maybe they scout that as well. So that was one. But number 2, and this continues to be a trend, this is not an official Conley CPA group stats, but let's just put some actual numbers to that theory instead of just making hypothetical guesses that like a lot of people like to do. CJ last night, his most successful area of running, most yards produced around the left end. Again, not a surprise. Wyatt Milam is generally anchoring that left tackle position. That's where you seal and get around the left side. Rushing direction by team total in last night's game. West Virginia's most successful area around the left edge. They got 52 yards of their 201 coming around that side. The next closest gap for West Virginia beyond that 52 around the left edge was only 21 yards. That kind of came right over the right guard position. So some of those questioning, why do you keep going left? Why do you keep going around the outsides? That's why. That's where some lanes were. That's what West Virginia has done well this year.
A little note there as well. How about Jaheim White? You think he's going to turn the corner a few times before his career's over?
Yes.
Continue to like him. I see why he led the Brown Mention Index coming out of the fall. I get it.
Texter, 3 guys. Hello, mid-game text alert. I got to give Neil a lot of credit working the referees to get those huge 2 defensive holding calls. Signed by Craig and Oakmont.
Tremendous calls. Excellent calls by the officials.
Yeah, outstanding job.
Texter, thanks for having us. Drags cleats on midfield logo. Texter, I have kids in youth sports and injuries are always a concern. They don't play sports as physical as football. I can't imagine what Aubrey Burks' family, friends, and teammates are going through. It's moments like these that really put things into perspective. People complain about the NIL money, but really they're putting their bodies on the line. They aren't guaranteed anything after graduation. Let's hope the young man is okay.
So, Tony, on that, we know Lathan's injury was serious. What about Milam? I mean, he wasn't in the game late. We talked about that.
Poked in the eye badly.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. Talked to Matt Moore about that as well. New masks, and there's a big opening on these masks now, and I got absolutely straight into the eye. Bad.
Oh.
I mean, he'll be fine, but, it was.
And Remack, that was just a re-injury. I mean, he was hobbled a little bit the last game.
So he had an ankle going in, and he twisted a knee, which has happened to him before. So walking extremely gingerly afterward. He's one of those guys, thank goodness, they don't have to play Saturday.
Yeah. And Burks was just precaution because it was up around the head area?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And had all extremities, even movement, hands, legs. Yeah. Texter, if you look up, getting back up after taking a punch, you will see this year's Mountaineer team, the Heart Attack Kids, signed by Ben in Chicago. Here's that. Show me this one. Look at this, Brad. You like this? Got a swan there, clear his throat and said, "Thanks for having us." Andy and Charlotte. Texter, Tony, you are a prophet. Thursday's podcast, you said West Virginia needs to slop it up, maybe come out with a 24-21 win. We certainly did. Great game, Sean Martin. Thanks for having us. This "thanks for having us" is unbelievable.
It's a great line. It's an all-time great.
You think that T-shirt will be out tonight?
Possibly tonight. Efforting for tonight, but got some moving parts there, so hopefully by tomorrow. I'd check it later tonight, though.
As a follow-up, it says, I owe an apology to Brad Stradamus, who I understand predicted the blocked field goal. Thanks for having us.
Did you?
I don't know.
You go with it. Texter, I have no
Thank you.
I have no nails left to bite. Stress Virginia is back. Signed by Barrick, not from Barrickville. Put those betting slips up here. There you go. Brad, so make these out. So West Virginia winner, result 24-21.
Good job. Got a little boost on that as well. DraftKings boost, put it out there, hit it. Got a +5, basically 5-1 return on the winner of West Virginia. Just went on the money line, said don't need your points. You want to give me 13.5, don't need them. Just take West Virginia on the money line. He did, 5-1 payout. Well done.
All right, next one.
Yeah, that was a great call. Easy one. Under. Number had been moving down, 55 to start. It got down to that 52.5 before kickoff. Took it, got it, cashed it, never in doubt.
Next one. So this is...
So that's pretty good. What's that number?
+10.5,
that should have been
-110.
a better number. That looks like an alternate line because you certainly could have got a better number than that. Might have taken an alternate line there, a little better payout. Well done. Cash it.
Yeah, thank you.
Congratulations, everyone.
By the way, we spend so much time together, and there's so much talk about this. And Brad and I were together like 12 hours yesterday. We talk about these things. I had a dream about Brad last night or this morning, and I dreamed, Brad, that Pitt was. I know other people's dreams aren't interesting, but it just is that Pitt was playing Oklahoma, and Pitt was favored by 36. And so I went to you, and I don't bet. I said, here's $20. Let's get in on this now.
Did we take Tony Dorsett for an anytime touchdown scorer as well with that line?
Texter, Cade from Madison.
I'm sorry that you're now having dreams about the lines.
Texter, Cade from Madison, West Virginia, the home of the Mountaineer mascot, Michael Hager. Am I just a crazy fan, or is it very likely West Virginia is 7-1 before UCF?
Oh, don't do that.
Yeah, don't count
Don't
chickens.
do that. Don't do that.
Had a couple of people ask about two Mountaineer receivers, Cortez Braham and Jeremiah Aaron. And both of those have decided to self-redshirt, which means they're gone. Texter, Charlie from Midlothian. I'm sending this at 11 p.m. Central, 12 p.m. Eastern. Outstanding team win. Thanks for blocking those field goals. Here's my Midlothian, West Virginia connection. My optometrist is Dr. Jenny Alsop. That's Rob Alsop's sister. She was a member of the Pride of West Virginia during her days in Morgantown. My annual appointment is always in the fall, so the first 15 to 20 minutes before we go in there and get dental is spent discussing Mountaineer football and basketball. That's great. Her Rob's official title is
Vice President of most things.
Yeah, most things.
Give or take.
Texter, great night, great morning to be a Mountaineer. One word to describe last night: ugly. But I'll take an ugly 4-1 any day. Quick question. General consensus is that West Virginia can't win this way week to week. My question is, why not? Holding two offenses like TCU and Tech to 21 and 13 points respectively is beginning to feel less like luck and more like a sustainable style of play. Obviously would love to and quite frankly need to see the offense evolve, but wins like the last two have me believing that this style isn't pretty, but it could be effective long term. Great from Greg from Pittsburgh.
Yeah, well said there. And the defense looks legit, guys. I mean, injuries are going to factor in, but keep playing. They look legit. And I credit the offense. This is a couple weeks in a row, and it's been different ways. 2 weeks ago against Texas Tech, I thought Neil Brown, Chad Scott, the offensive staff, great job with different sets, different formations, different play calls to make some plays available for Nico and the others that hadn't been there before. And then last night, I thought you saw a great adjustment when that offensive line had to be reconfigured, that Neil turned into the old air raid. Air Brown just said to Garrett Green, go ahead and drop back, start throwing, marched your way down the field for points. So just, again, that's what good coaches do. You adjust to what you have. And West Virginia being able to cobble together an offense here in points to do enough to allow the defense to do its work, I think deserves a lot of credit. You're playing with some real babies there at the wide receiver position, guys. I mean, you're playing with guys that probably shouldn't have to play as much as they are right now, and you're inexperienced quarterbacks, either one of those, and you're finding ways to win games here.
Well, great point. And look, what do good coaches do? Not what they want to do, but what they can do. And I think that's what this coaching staff has done, is that this is what we can do, and try to be tough, try not to but have a bunch of turnovers, try not to have a bunch of penalties, and muck it up. And I tell you, but defensively they made good adjustments, because the first half we saw something, Brad, that we had not seen yet, and that was missed tackles. Yeah. That was a problem in the first half that frankly got cleaned up in the second half.
Yeah, they did better execution. By the way, speaking of not very many penalties, West Virginia still continues to be pretty clean. Saw something last night, and again, the officials just a wonderful job of officiating last night. I think overall, I think we can all agree,
absolutely,
did a wonderful job.
Terrific.
I'm not sure I've ever seen a butt clench offensive procedure.
What?
Butt clench.
Butt clench.
Offensive line West Virginia butt clench. Clenched his butt cheeks. Threw a flag. Never seen that, Hoppy.
Well, that was
what rule is that? We got a lot of officials that listen to this program. I wonder if we could get a text on the exact rule where it's the butt clench is cause for procedure.
Well, you saw that because you don't see that very often, because when he signaled it, when the official signaled it, he came out.
Are you demonstrating? You're demonstrating now? That's how he did it? Yeah. Backed him up 5 yards. Yeah. Couple notes on that, though. The field goal was good.
53.
And would have been good for longer. Backed him up 5 yards, so from 58, and it was darn near, it was close.
It was close.
A little bit short, a little bit to the right, but it was close. But anyway, had not seen a butt clench
and,
offensive.
He's quietly done a nice job this year.
I was just going to say that. You're exactly right, Hop. You're exactly right. Yeah, that was a great addition. You talk about some of the pickups that they've made in the offseason. Cole Taylor, Beanie Bishop, I mean, Tomoa Durajaye, Fatorma Molba. I'm missing guys. But they picked Michael Hayes. They picked up some dudes.
Yeah.
They picked up some dudes. Hey, Luke, I'm going to skip the one, but I just emailed you the picture, and we'll go back to that picture after I do this one. That's a lot of internal communication.
That is.
But you'll see.
We're going to get the producers.
The
intercom fixed.
Yeah.
And not fixed. We never had it. But.
Efforting.
Texter, good evening. B. Miller here, not Hager from Hagerstown. The wife and I are WVU alums. Enjoyed our Kirchhoff Pilsner and quality time with our 2-year-old and our newest addition, our 5-day-old baby girl.
Oh my.
The Mountaineer win made it all sweeter. Praying for the best for our injured Mountaineers. Quick shout out to R. Shreve and D. Blair for getting me back into the Three Guys game. Truly the best. Keeping up the great work. Let's go. There you go, man. 5 days old.
Great picture.
Oh,
It looks like they may have some really comfortable watching chairs.
Nice cup holders there for the Kirchhoff. I think we
Yeah.
got some goldfish there. My
Hoppy.
man's got a little goldfish maybe in there.
Yeah, he's
Wonderful
definitely going.
snack.
Yeah, he got Kirchhoff in his hand there, and Hop. That's kind of like those first class seats you flew to Africa on, right? Pretty nice.
A lot of babies getting early Mountaineer wins in their lifetime. Congratulations to them.
yeah.
Okay,
Wonderful.
I assume Luke that we're good. Did he just say 1 second?
Yeah, he did say one
All right,
second.
fine, I'll go to another one.
Jeez.
Texter, Jubilant Jordan here, first-time texter. Please let me get credit for being the first to coin the nickname Blockhart after Mike Lockhart's incredible field goal block tonight versus TCU. I'll take
Yeah, that works.
Blockhart.
Good. Very good.
Needs to block another one though to
Yeah.
to reaffirm that. But
Getting greedy.
Bobby O from Defiance, Ohio via Weirton. Relatively new listener after my sister Donna, nephew Adam from Weirton, and nephew Brian from Chandler, Arizona, led me to Three Guys just before the season started. You guys keep talking about this football team being a throwback to the 80s Don Nehlen teams. I can go back a little further and remember being thrilled to get Danny Buggs' autograph outside the old stadium. Here's my thought. Rather than just a throwback to the 70s and 80s football, how about the rekindling of the entire athletic department? Starting in 78, Coach Gail Catlett starts a 24-year career. Fred Schaus becomes the AD a year or two later, and in the 1980s, Don Nehlen starts an outstanding career as the head coach. Mr. Schaus gives way to Mr. Pastalong, who stays for 20-plus. I can remember Coach Blakemore leading the women's team. Rifle, baseball, wrestling all had long-term coaches. How awesome would it be to see 20 to 25 years of consistent coaches wanting to live and work at an incredible university? Is this even possible, or just a wild dream of a Mountaineer stuck in the middle of Big Ten country where all start times are listed in Eastern? Praying that all the injuries are minor and relatively quick. I don't think that can happen again.
doesn't really happen much anymore.
Can't.
It doesn't because
just
the money got too big, which means that people are demanding instant success because they've got more invested in it. And so I don't think you'll ever see coaches at 20 years anymore. The things change. Social media's changed it. There's just too much crap that goes along with it. And as a result, no, I think that was an era that's gone. All right, I'm going to try this text with Luke. Okay, before I lose a moment to share this, my first meeting with you was circa 2010 with the most incredible people at the Waterfront Coaches Corner. I think you remember saying that we'd rather have a picture made with the coach than you. Coach Stewart and I were both born in Grafton and just a little over a year apart.
There's our
I
guy.
often wonder if we ever crossed paths as children. There you go, my man. Coach Stu.
The best.
Yeah.
Oh, he's the best. Oh, great.
That's a great picture.
Yep. Let's see here. Texter. Jeremy from Cooperstown, New York. Good Lord. If you only heard the Neil bashing in-game from my cousins in the great state of West Virginia, mostly Brad from Charleston and Jimmy from Salem, trust the damn climb, baby. Efforting. My question, and this is funny, but no cause. I love Dana, but who's on the hotter seat, Dana or Neil?
Not close right now. Not close. Houston took it on the chin yesterday. They were around that game, really entertaining first half, back and forth, no defense being played, very good offense. Suddenly the offense disappeared in the second half, all defense, nobody could score.
28 all at the half, and no scoring by Houston in the second half, and Texas Tech pulled away.
Massive game. Both those teams badly needed a win. Texas Tech got it to continue on. Dana having some noise down there around Houston. They're struggling.
That one corner that didn't play against us for Tech, Ramirez, really good player. He had a pick, and they also returned a kickoff for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
So it's those little things.
And blocked a punt.
Did they get a punt block too?
Houston special
Punt
teams.
block return. It might have been return for a touchdown.
Rough day. Yeah, it was return for a touchdown.
Scoop and score or something?
Yeah. Tough day for special teams down in Houston.
Texter,
Pressing meetings today.
three guys consider the plot twist. Last week, Neil won 3 in a row for the first time in his career at West Virginia. With the win last night against TCU, the Mountaineers now stand 3 wins away from 7 games remaining for a chance at a 7-win season. The best in Neil's record at West Virginia. Would 7 or 8 wins, seek and ask of an extension. With the current contract ending in 26, Neil technically couldn't see his current freshman class through.
Yes.
Okay, you go ahead and address this.
Yeah.
Here's my thought to this, man. It's October 1st, right? We've played 5 games. Why is everyone? Does anyone ever just let things happen and then evaluate?
Well, yes, Tony, yes, and I think that for the most part, Mountaineer Nation is enjoying what's going on. However, I'm not going to dwell on it today. I've dwelled on it a lot, but I mean that is a lingering question. I mean, both things can be true. It can be true that the Mountaineers are on a remarkable run, and this Neil Brown and his staff have done a remarkable job. But it's also true that that decisions are going to have to be made. Both things are true. But I would not, like you, I would not let that question diminish the joy associated with what's happening at the moment.
Well, yeah, and I would just add to that. I mean, there's people where that matters to. Neil Brown being one, the coaching staff another, Ren Baker another. There's going to be discussions coming on that. But I think what's clearly removed from this moment is questions about Neil Brown's job status and will he be back. I think that's the narrative that got way too much attention early on that can now be set aside. A lot of football left. Put that aside. That staff's done a heck of a job. They're not in jeopardy at this moment.
Guess I need to turn this on. Texter, can we get an official ruling on whether or not that was a thanks for having us game? Adam in Melbourne, Australia. Well, I think we've established it by naming the show.
Question. It's one of the all-time great thanks for having us.
Texter, although our ears will probably be ringing for the next few days from that darn TCU PA system, it is still a great night to be a Mountaineer, especially in Fort Worth. Let's go, Mountaineers.
I mean, are they afraid that somebody will not be able to hear?
Yeah.
The PA was ridiculous.
How about these pictures? So this is from these texters. So they do a great job there at TCU with the Frog Alley thing. So go ahead, as the night went on, a couple more pics. Look at that moon.
Oh.
It was really.
Did you see that?
Oh, yeah, it was right above the stadium. And we had a debate whether or not it was full. They said it wasn't a full moon.
Wasn't a full moon?
No, it was close. Pat Sargent, who's our engineer, who's a pilot. Pat also flies. I said, Pat, is that full? He goes, no, there's still a little piece. I said, okay, fine. I'll go with you.
Beautiful, though.
That was gorgeous. Yeah,
that's a pretty campus, right?
Gorgeous campus. Yeah. Just, you know what? We were walking into the stadium, and Dwight Wallace said this, and it's true. This place reeks money. It's just, you just feel it. It's just it's in a neighborhood. Just gorgeous. It's a really nice place. A lot of money in Fort Worth. I talked to some people there, and they said this is old Fort Worth money. We were looking down at their area. Mm-hmm. They got to set up as nice as an NFL city, where people, have this big deal. Like it's like over in Pittsburgh and for a Steelers game, just this massive, gorgeous food area. It's just like a pro stadium, right? So. That's that deal. All right, I think we've come to an end. So let's bring folks up to what we're doing since we don't have a preview episode this week with no game this weekend. We will be doing a special episode.
Excuse me?
Tomorrow afternoon.
What?
It will be released on Wednesday.
Is there any more information on that? Or is that for those who might be participating?
Since we're doing this internally, are you available after your show tomorrow?
Well, let me see. Let me check my schedule. Yes, I'm available.
Okay, so we're going to do do we say who the guest is?
Sure.
Right?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay. She came to fame, obviously, Pennsylvania native. Last week, she was at the Kansas City Chiefs game. Taylor Swift.
That's not right. That's not right.
That didn't get confirmed.
No, that's not right.
Oh, we're going to spend time with the first ever general manager of West Virginia football, Drew Fabianich.
Okay.
And we're going to get him in here, and we're going to talk about this whole world of being a general manager. He brings a tremendous background with him from the professional ranks, being with the Dallas Cowboys, I think 17 or 18 years, and heading up their scouting deal, and then this whole world. Interesting guy. He's got a gazillion stories.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah.
So, like, he's the guy that when we watch games, you go like, that guy's going to play in the NFL. And he'll go like, no, he's not going to play in the NFL because obviously, he's got this, that, and the other thing. And go like, at best, he'll be on a practice squad, but won't make it. So he knows. And so he's a valuable resource inside football programs because why? College teams are becoming like pro teams. And he can tell these kids exactly what they need to do and what's realistic and the whole thing, and brings great perspective. So it's going to be fun.
Okay.
We'll do it tomorrow. We'll release it on Wednesday, and then the following week we got a weird week because the Houston game's on Thursday.
So slated to record Tuesday, October 10.
Okay.
Tuesday, October 10 is the preview edition. We'll come back on Friday the 13th with the review of Houston.
We know this, Hoppy, because he and I sat down last week and we hammered out the things without you being involved.
That's fun.
Just trying to help you out.
I appreciate it.
We
just
things off your
tell
plate.
me when to show
Yeah,
up.
keep things off
Yeah,
your
that's
plate.
exactly what we do.
Yeah.
Kind of like the way this whole thing's worked. Like, hey, Hoppy, we'll need you here then. You go like, okay.
Okay, send the car.
Yeah. Yeah. Special thanks to our producer, Luke Rousey. 3 Guys Before the Game brought to us by the Burdett Camping Center, the only warranty forever dealer in the state of West Virginia. Visit them at burdettcamping.com. Whether it's parts, sales, or service, they got you covered. Premier dealer in the state of West Virginia. You buy it from them, and the warranty lasts forever.
Good RVing time of year as well.
Oh,
with the leaves changing coming up.
Big leaves.
Not just pontoon boats.
Yeah.
RVs as well.
3 Guys brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, efficient for 25 years. By Gomart, go for good times. Go for Gomart. Get your rewards card, triple points on Saturdays. By Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans, they sell family fun. Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. And by the Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond the numbers.
Yeah, Mike checked
and
in
an
today.
active participant
Yeah.
in today's show. Thank
Sure.
you, Mike.
I think he did a
Conley
nice job.
CPA
He
Group.
brought
Good
us
research.
some good stuff.
Yeah, he did.
Tremendous.
First time
Value
in
beyond the numbers, of
WVU
course.
history, 100-plus years, that they blocked 2 field goals in a game on the road.
Right.
Holy,
That's amazing.
Holy potato salad. That's something special.
That's how you win games.
Speaking of potato salad, it's time for lunch. Thanks for being with us. Back again with our special episode on Wednesday. Stay well. See you.